Katlyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Casey.
I'm looking forward to chatting with you because we were just chatting about websites and how important they are. So I'm looking forward to digging into that because I think people underestimate that. There's so much out there, so many different social media things, and everybody needs to be doing everything they feel. And maybe I'm hoping you can help us simplify it.
Sure.
And this actually came up on a recent conversation too. So before we get into that though, I want to know a little bit more about you, I'm always interested in why people got into their line of work, what brought them to that point and maybe what keeps them going at this point, right? As we get into it, but why marketing, why websites, why are you so passionate about this and helping people?
Yeah. So I grew up in rural Minnesota. Actually, all of the men in my family were tradesmen and owned their own businesses. My grandpa was a mechanic. My stepdad, I worked for him for a while. He's still a successful roofer in southern Minnesota. My dad was an HVAC. My other grandpa was an HVAC. My husband today is a journeyman electrician. So I've just always been in that space with contractors and business owners. But getting into web design was actually more out of necessity. I was actually going to school for music for a long time. Very long story short, that ended up not working out. And so I ended up getting my business degree online, got married, had kids, got my first marketing job out here in Vancouver, Washington. I worked for them for about 1.5 years and they went out of business when I was pregnant with our second son. So at that time, we still needed both of our incomes. And I had a family friend who owned a independent consultant. He was an independent consultant for the wastewater industry. And he really needed somebody to do his social media and update his website. And so he hired me to do that. And I told him, I was like, I have no experience with web design. And he was just kind of in that mindset where it's like, you're younger, you're going to catch on to this faster than I am. And I don't have time for this. So I was like, okay. So he paid me hourly to do some work for him. And in that time, he was the one who encouraged me to start my own business. So when my business first launched, I was more of a VA where I kind of did a bunch of different things from copywriting to editing documents to web design, social media. And as I was doing that, I found that the only thing that I really liked to do was the creative part, the web design. So I invested the money that he was paying me and in web design courses and learning that trade. And so I'm completely self-taught. And over the last several years the first year I was freelancing, learning different programs, working with a variety of different types of clients and really trying to hone in, okay, what platform do I want to work on? What type of businesses do I want to work with? And getting into that niche of construction. I took a very extensive SEO program for a couple years. And actually when I first started out, that was most of my clientele was SEO. And then in the last 2 years, I got really into website strategy, which I'm sure we're going to talk about more today, so that I could better help my clients. It's one thing to get them a website and one that looks good, but I wanted them to be able to see real tangible results like I was getting my SEO clients. That brought me so much more satisfaction that what I was doing was actually helping their business. So the website strategy, when that came in, was a total game changer because I could actually build a website that, yes, looks beautiful, but it was working for my clients to achieve what their goals were and getting them those tangible results. And so long story short, that's how I got here. Never expected my life to take me this direction, to being in web design or owning my own business, but it's been so rewarding. And on top of that, I can be at home with my 2 kiddos all day and have a career I love. And it's been great.
That's fun. How old are your kids?
3 and 5.
Yeah. So they're a handful still.
Yeah. Boys. Crazy.
All right. So you mentioned a couple things in there, SEO and website strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe first explain what SEO is. I know that's search engine optimization, but I don't know if everybody, especially if they're a contractor. I know a lot of contractors don't even have a website, let alone know what SEO. So if you can explain what that is and then explain how that's different from website strategy.
Yeah. So the way I kind of look at it is a website is a marketing tool, but to me, it's more of a sales tool. What marketing is driving people to your website. And so that can be done through paid ads on Google or Facebook or Instagram. That can be word of mouth marketing and referrals. Social media, whatever those channels are. So SEO, search engine optimization, is one of those channels to drive people to your website. So specifically what I did was local SEO. So let's say you're a roofer in Portland, Oregon. I would work with that company to rank higher for local search. So Portland homeowners who are searching for roofers in their area, roofing companies, roof repair, and moving them up the Google rankings so that they can get more visibility in those searches and then drive more traffic to their website. So that is one marketing channel, is that organic search engine optimization, showing up higher in a Google search result for whatever you want to be found for. Website strategy is more geared towards the sales. Well, it really can be anything, but it's more geared towards when people get to your website, what do you want them to do? So for different companies, it looks different. Some people are wanting to build their email list. And so when we get on a strategy call and they're wanting to build those relationships with prospects or current clients, the website that we design is geared towards that specific goal. Other contractors may want to increase the amount of leads that they get. So they're spending all this money on SEO or paid ads and they're getting people to their website. But when we're looking at their analytics, where is all that going? Are they actually capturing the people who are landing on their website into leads, or are they just kind of falling through the cracks? That's what we would hone in for them. Other contractors get plenty of inquiries, but they're not the type of client that they want to work with. They're not attracting their ideal client. So then their strategy is focused on, okay, who's your ideal client? How do we build a website that kind of filters out the people you don't want to be working with and draws in the people you do want to be working with? So it varies from business to business, but website strategy is basically building a website to be an effective tool that works for your business.
Yeah, that makes sense when you lay it out like that. Now, is SEO, I'm assuming SEO is still something that you do with all of your clients when you're working in this, depending on what their strategy is, what their goal is, I guess,
Yeah.
right? For their product.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as a designer and coming from more of an SEO background, it's very important for me, for my clients, to do the on-site search engine optimization to set them up for success. It's like laying the foundations of Google and other search engines liking you and wanting you to show up. The offsite, more external SEO strategies are done on a recurring, like month-to-month basis. It takes time and recurring daily activities, to get it to where you want to go. But definitely with my clients, I want them to have the foundations and the basics, making sure their site is not only beautiful and functional, but it's set up for search engine success. So yeah, I always do some degree of SEO with my web work.
Is a website a must, you think, for construction companies? And when I say construction companies, it could be any, let's say trade companies, right? It could be plumber, electrician, general contractor, right? Contractor or subcontractor. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It is a must, especially today when you're looking for any service or product. If you're wanting to check out a restaurant, or especially if people are spending, a certain amount of money, let's say you're a builder or a roofer, like that's a good chunk of money that people are spending. They're going to Google and they're looking at all the companies. If you don't show up, you might be getting, like, referrals are great. You might be getting plenty of business word of mouth or referrals or whatnot. But what happens when you're in a slower period and those referrals slow down? Having that presence online of people who are not in your sphere of influence, who are looking for your services, it's important to show up, and it just gives you another channel. And honestly, even when people are referred to you, they're checking out your website anyways. It gives you kind of that one up, because already somebody who they trust has referred you to them, but they're still going to your website. They still want to see your credibility, the type of work you do, learn more about you before they're actually going to reach out. So, I'm not saying everybody has to jump in and have this big, crazy custom website, but having something there that establishes your business and your credibility is important, because that's what consumers are looking for.
Now, what if you're a subcontractor who doesn't really work for homeowners? Is a website still important at that point, or is that something they can go without? How does that factor in?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
And one that I haven't been asked before, but I would still say it's important because, and again, even if it's just basic, because the people who are hiring you, it might not be a homeowner, but it's another business, and they still want to be able to see that you're reputable. I had one subcontractor that I did a website for, and he was only hired by one of the contractors he works for because of his website. They wanted to see the type of work that they do. I think trust is a really big thing in the construction space. Not that you can't have that without a website, but I think it's one more tool that can be effective in showing like, hey, like, we know what we're doing. We can display the type of work we do. We can have these testimonials, and it's just another way to build trust, whether you're working with a homeowner or another contractor.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's definitely a lot of things, like what a website can add to the fact that it shows that you're here to stay, right? You're not just some fly by night person. You're actually trying to build a business, and especially if it's a website that has some great information on it, right? So that's where the content, we focus a lot on content marketing. So we're creating content, educating people. That's what we do, what we like to do. And I'm assuming you advise people on that as well.
Yes, definitely.
Now I'm just thinking from a contractor, either whether they're new or not, they don't have a website, they don't do anything, they're just kind of overwhelmed. They're like, okay, where do I start? What do I need? What should the bare minimum be for the website? Do I need to hire somebody? Can I do it myself? Like, there's all sorts of questions, right? This whole world, the internet can be overwhelming. And then once you got it all figured out, it changes, kind of like kids, right? You get them figured out and then they change. And then you got to adapt and learn something new. Where do you start?
Yeah. So I just want to keep this really simple. When I first started out my business, who I wanted to help the most were people like what you're explaining. They're just starting out, and you're wearing all these hats, and you're trying to figure out where to start. And you have people in one ear, they're like, do social, do paid ads, do SEO, do website. It's like, how do you know where to even begin? I am all for people DIYing their website, with caution, because even if you DIY your site, if it looks a mess, the prospective client who's landing on your site is going to think you're a mess. So what you put out there is what people are going to perceive about your business. So just be careful. But that being said, web design is so much more accessible than it used to be, where everything was like hand coded. My platform of choice, Squarespace, is amazing. There's so many free templates that you can choose from. Then if you don't want to use one of theirs, there are Squarespace template designers galore if you do a Google search. And you can find one geared towards your industry, plug and play your own branding, your own images, and your own content, and have a decent looking starter website. So you can absolutely do it yourself. And then as far as what to have on like a starter site, what is most important is your messaging. I would say if you don't have the time or the money to invest in this big custom web project, find a copywriter or somebody who can help you hone in on your messaging that's going to appeal to your prospects. And then from there, yeah, a little bit about your company. Put some FAQs on your website of your commonly asked questions. Being able to answer those right on your website is going to keep people on your site longer. You're answering questions that they care about and that are valuable to them. If you're able to post content every now and then as regularly as possible on a blog and offer valuable information to the consumers, it's going to build trust. Use real photos, I would say, of you and your team rather than stock photos if you can. You don't have to invest a large amount of money to get some headshots and show the face behind your company. And that's another trust builder. And then a simple, easy to use contact form. Don't, if you can help it, require a ton of information for them to fill out to reach out to you. If you're just starting out and you need to get jobs coming in, just make it really easy for people to reach out. So it doesn't have to be this big, robust website. You just want to be personable, and you want to always be thinking of how can I help the person on my site? So less about me, and how great I am and how great our company is, and more like what are they thinking about? What questions do they have? How can I help them? And that's going to come across to the user that you're trustworthy, they care about you, you care about them. And that's going to help a lot with your engagement and your conversions.
Yeah, it's a really good point. You said a lot of great things there. That I want to emphasize, the fact that, the website is essentially the first impression, right? So if your website's a mess, what does that say about stuff? So, and that is what people do. Like nobody calls somebody or goes to meet them. The first thing you do is you Google somebody, or you go to the website, or somebody refers you, you're going to go somewhere to learn about them. And the easier it is to find information, the better, because that's a first impression. And however, how good is that information is going to be part of that as well. So I think that's super important. And one of the things that I love about, working on marketing within the business and figuring out, website stuff, is that it makes you really think about your business. Because I think a lot of business owners in general are just out there trying to get everything and anything that they can. And sometimes you need to start somewhere, like you said. Sure. To some extent, you just need to say yes, 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 until you get to a point where you can say no. But that doesn't mean that you can't get clear on what you want to attract, so that God can send it your way, right? So you need to be very clear on what you're looking for. And I think putting that thought into the messaging for a website, just the fact that you go through that process, is super beneficial for any business owner.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my husband and I are moving across the country here in 3 weeks from Washington State to Ohio. We were looking at home builder websites because we were thinking about building our own home. And so we we're going to a bunch of these builders, and I could see right away, like, we have obviously a price range. I would land on one builder website, and literally from the second I landed on the site, I'm like, we can't afford them. They're attracting a different kind of client. So literally in the first second I land on a website, or someone lands on your site, they can kind of see like, this is what I'm looking for, or no, this is what I'm not. And that's a great way to be able to, naturally kind of weed out the bad quality leads, or the people that you don't want to be working with. And that's okay. I think a lot of times I've heard, is it possible to niche? You're like in construction, you're a builder, you're a roofer, you're a plumber. So like that's a niche, but you can niche further with the types of work that you want. Maybe it's the jobs that you get the most profit from, or maybe it's the jobs that are like really passive and recurring income. Like a lawn care company who does mowing on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. So when you're really serious about growing and scaling, you have to be thinking about like, okay, who do I want to be working with? And that's an okay question to ask yourself. And then once you've zeroed in on that person, make all of your marketing, your website, your social, your blog posts, all of that geared towards that individual. And I think the natural fear is that you're going to miss out on other jobs. And like, that's true to an extent, but people, even if you're marketing at a very specific person, you're still going to get other people coming in. It happens with my own business. My whole website is marketed to contractors, and all the time I get, interior designers, which is kind of in the space, but fitness trainers, like you are still attracting a certain type of person with your messaging. So I'm always like, don't be scared to niche down and really think about who your ideal client is, and then make all of that content and your website about them, because it'll increase the quality of your leads, and you'll be more fulfilled. You're more happy working with the people you want to be working with.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I want to go back a little bit because you said, oh, you land on a website and think that I can't afford them. Did you just not reach out to them at all?
I dug further. I
Okay.
went to, because, and again, they had a great website where they kind of covered this stuff. I could go to their contact page, for example, and on their form, they had a drop down that said, what is your budget? Okay. And so the budget starts at 2 mil. So right there, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm out. I can't. So they have it on every part of their site. It wasn't just the imagery. It was also like, you're only reaching out to us if you have a minimum of this much to spend. And so they were answering those questions throughout.
Right. Yeah.
So for them, no, I did not reach out. They weeded me out.
Yeah, we do something similar. It's not 2 million, but we do the same sort of thing, but we still get messages from other people, partly because of all the content we put out there. So people are like, well, we want to work with you, but we don't want to spend that much yet. Right. So, and then
but that's great. And you never know if they'll come back in the future and they're ready. So that's one of the parts of building relationships. And you have people who see your content regularly and you're in their mind, for years. They follow you. And if they get to that point where they're ready, or they know a friend who's ready, it's a great way to build those relationships either way.
Yeah, absolutely. So should we be updating our websites regularly? Like, does that help, or can we create something like, is it a set it and forget it thing for the most part? Or is there an advantage to updating it or to reviewing it every so often? Because I know you have a freebie that you're going to give away, but I know it's specifically linked to 2023.
Exactly,
so I'm wondering if things change, right? So
yeah, it's important to keep things fresh, especially if you're developing content, right? Content marketing is so powerful, whether it's email or blogging and things like that, where you have people coming to your site pretty regularly. It's important to keep it fresh and new. It increases engagement. That freebie that I have, it will be updated for 2024. And I try to be thinking like every 6 months, it's like, what is something new I can give my audience? And you're putting kind of a fire under my butt because I know I need a new freebie. But no, it's definitely important to keep offering more valuable content, because again, it's just a trust builder. And if you are developing this audience of people who are coming to you and learning from you, they're going to keep coming back for more. And so you have to have new things for them. But outside of that, let's say you're not even developing content yet, it's still important, not just for users, but Google likes to see new content being added as well. They like to see that you're active and it's not just this stagnant, stale site that's been sitting here and nothing's being done with it. So add more gallery or project portfolio pieces, update your testimonials. That's a big thing. If somebody's come to your site a couple times and they're not seeing any new testimonials in there, they're like, are they even working with people? Right. So updating testimonials, and portfolio pieces, and just keeping things fresh and engaging. I land on contractors' sites multiple times throughout the year, especially if you offer like a service that you need more frequently, like plumbing or electrician. People are going to be landing on your site more than one time. So
yeah, that makes sense. Now, what do you see in the future? Like, technology is changing, right? There's so much happening in the world. Do you see websites continuing to be important for foreseeable future, or do you think it's going to change? Or maybe it's just the way the website, you interact with the website changes? Like, what are you seeing in the tech world from that front?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I definitely think the way that we interact with websites will look different. AI coming onto the scene is very interesting. And I am still reading up a lot on that. to kind of see what that might look like. But as far as a website still being an important thing in your overall marketing plan, yes, it's still important. Like I said before, there's a bunch of different ways you can market, and that changes all the time too. Like social media is like come and go. It's like now TikTok's the new thing, and there's going to be things after that. But the reason why the website's so important is as all these other social media platform algorithms change, or Google's algorithm changes, you don't have as much control of that, and people getting through to your website from those marketing channels. Like a couple years ago, Instagram like totally shut down for like a couple days. I don't remember what happened or why it happened, but it's like you're not in control of Instagram's platform or Facebook's platform or TikTok or Google. But the one thing you are in control of is your website. So having that as just that touch point of like, I own this, it is an asset in my business. I literally make sure you own your website and somebody else doesn't own it or host it. You own your website. You are in control of the content that's on there, the photos, the imagery. It's something that you have despite all of the other things that might be going on in marketing. So I think, yeah, if something was to happen and all those channels fell off the face of the earth, or a new social media was out and Facebook and Instagram aren't relevant anymore, you still have that asset in your business that you own and are in full control of.
So you mentioned one thing, so make sure you own it or host it. So don't you need to host your website somewhere though? Like if you buy the domain,
yes, you need to
still
host it. But what my warning there is, there's a lot of advertising companies, or sometimes you might hire a designer and they offer to host it. So they either have their own server or they host it on, I don't know, another platform that you don't have access to. And that is a big red flag. I cannot even tell you how many people have come to me that said, hey, yeah, the web person who put up our site 5 years ago isn't in business anymore. Their email's not working. Like they don't have access to their website at all. They don't have login.
Right.
And so you do need to host it. Make sure you have all the credentials and you have the you're the administrator. So you can come in. Another guy that just came to me, he was working with a marketing company that they're like, hey, we'll build you a website and we'll do your SEO and we'll do your social media. And he signs on with them, not realizing that as soon as he wanted to end the contract or not pay anymore, the website went with it. So he came to me and he's like, I don't have a website anymore in 2 months when this contract with this terrible marketing company ends. So I just warn any business owner to just make sure that they have full access to their website and it's not, it can't be held over their head.
So I want to end, maybe we'll end with this then. Yeah. On that note, I find marketing, I love talking about marketing. I love just thinking about that. I love business. Like the whole part of that aspect of business is enjoyable for me. One thing that I struggle with is like when you hire a marketing company, like how do you measure success, right? Because the whole point of marketing, like you said, is kind of it's not sales, but how do you know if marketing is working, or how do you know that your website is working, or that the SEO, like what kind of metrics can you measure? Because maybe you're it's kind of like looking at somebody who has a ton of followers. Okay, are those like legit followers?
Right. Yeah.
Or are they just
paid
bots,
or
right?
bots? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's going to vary from company to company, but I would just encourage any business owner to ask your marketing company or web designer those questions. Like sit down before you even meet with them and think about what do I want to accomplish by working with this marketing company or this web designer? It's one of the questions I ask my clients. I'm like, us working together, what would be metrics, or how would you consider our time together a success? And then I give them options. Is it more traffic? Is it higher price point of your services, like being able to raise your prices? Is it an increase in your conversion rates? How many people reach out to you out of the amount of people that land on your site each month? You have to figure out as a company, like, what am I looking to achieve? And then having that upfront and honest conversation with the person you're hiring, like, this is what we want. And involving that, they should be asking those questions anyways. And if they're not, then I don't know, that seems shady. They should want to know what your overall goal is, because then their whole job from there should be to help you meet that goal and achieve that goal. So there's a bunch of different ways you can measure metrics, and it's going to vary from organization to organization, but your conversion rates, your amount of traffic, sales, especially if you're a product-based business, sales is obviously a huge thing, increase in sales. SEO, like if it's you want to, move higher up the Google rankings, that's really easy to measure. I'm on spot 50 today and I'm on spot 10, a couple months from now. You can easily see that increase of where you are. So yeah, that's a great thing to sit down and just think about as a business owner, and then make sure that whoever you're hiring has that top of mind, and they should be asking you those questions anyways.
That's fantastic. Well, Katlyn, this has been amazing. Lots of great information here. And obviously I was already sold on websites being good, but hopefully people listening, if they don't have a website, that they're looking to get that going for the website for their
if you
business.
have a website that's a dud for you, just know that it doesn't have to be that way.
There you go. So reach out to Katlyn for sure, specializing in construction. But I want to ask, you have your freebie. Maybe you share a little bit about the freebie. It's the 10 things every construction website needs. I'd like to, I don't know if you can give us a teaser from that list. I don't want to give it all away so that people go download it, but is there anything? You probably already mentioned a bunch.
That list, the 10 things every construction website needs in 2023. My goal for creating that was to be able to give you a tool that you could take that list and you can apply those changes yourself. I didn't get super into the depths of strategy, but I stuck with the basics, because sometimes it's the tiniest things on our website that if we just tweaked this, you'd see huge changes. Anything from where your call to actions, like the call now or inquire today buttons are, or how many fields your contact form have. So it's 10 things that you could implement today to see an increase in your conversion rates. And I just hope it's helpful. I wanted to give it something that you could take actionable takeaways and apply today.
Amazing. Well, Katlyn, thanks so much for being here. Before you go, any parting words of advice for our listeners and viewers?
Let me think about this. Parting words of advice.
Or ask.
Read Marketing Made Simple by Donald Miller. It's Donald Miller is the one who created the book Building a Story Brand, which is also really good. But Marketing Made Simple is because we were talking about how complicated marketing can feel and you're just kind of having everything flung at you. He does a brilliant job in breaking it down and giving also actionable steps for businesses to take. And tons of Fortune 500 companies have worked with him, and he's a genius. So it's like $15 on Amazon, get it. And it's great.
I'll have to check that one out. I haven't read that one.
It's a great one.
Read a lot of different marketing books, so I'll check that one out too.
Yep.
Okay, then. Thanks again. This has been great. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey builders, I know it's not easy out there. It is a tough environment right now, and we need more conscious builders now than we ever did previously. So that's why for the month of August, we are giving a 75% discount on everything at the Conscious Builder Academy. For one low price, you'll get access to the entire academy, and you'll be able to do things like master your sales and marketing for high performance homes and renovations. You'll be able to boost your profits. You'll be able to solve conflict like a pro, and you'll be able to improve the management of your clients and your team, and so much more. And on top of that, you'll get access to everything for life. This is no ordinary deal. We've never done this before, and we will never do it again. This is only running until the end of August. So to take advantage of this extraordinary deal, head to theconsciousbuilder.com/summer bundle or click the link in the video description below.